Tonight, tourists and locals flee as a deadly earthquake rocks the Indonesian island of Lombok. Showers fall in our drought-stricken areas, but much more still needed. A driver's miraculous escape, his car crushed after a logging truck accident near Port Macquarie. And an incredible encounter with an ocean giant off Crescent Head.
This is NBN News with Paul Lobb.
Good evening. More than 90 people have been killed and thousands displaced on the popular Indonesian island of Lombok after a magnitude 7 earthquake rocked the tourist destination for the second time in a week. No Australians have lost their lives, but hundreds are now stranded in the chaos across neighbouring Bali and Gili T, trying desperately to get back home.
The first signs of a major emergency. Then the race to get out. Panicked crowds spill out of shopping centres. Down escalators and stairs. Restaurants emptying as clubs clear out. Hotel corridors become escape routes.
We were in the hotel at the time and the whole top floor actually was shaking. We panicked, like everybody panicked, so we ran out.
We were told to run, and there's just a big mountain up the back of the resort and was told to run.
The quake struck in the northern part of Lombok at around 7:45 p.m. local time, followed by 47 aftershocks, some as strong as magnitude 5.4, shaking neighbouring Bali and the popular Gili Islands. Given the time of day, many Muslims are at their evening prayers. Some got up just in time as debris crashed down where they knelt. Some sprinted from mosques, while others chose to stay. Blackouts hampered rescues, emergency teams forced to work in darkness. Local hospitals brought their triage to the streets, with wards forced to evacuate. Among the injured, Sydney man John Paul Kennedy and his mother. They were in her Mangsett villa when it collapsed around them. For most on the island, it's their second emergency in the last week. A 6.4 magnitude quake hit Lombok last Sunday, killing 17 people. And this one was so much more devastating. Dozens of Indonesians lost their lives under the rubble, and the death toll is expected to rise. While no foreign tourists are believed dead, for many it was a close call. This couple from Victoria said their goodbyes outside their Bali villa, fearing a tsunami that thankfully never came.
We actually kind of had each other and told each other we loved each other, and whether if anything happens, we're going together. And she started crying, but I haven't had a chance to say goodbye to the kids.
Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton was also caught up in the chaos. He was in the heart of Lombok with an Australian delegation.
Literally the building was swaying back and forth and really shaking violently, so it was hard to get up off the floor.
This afternoon, the mayhem continued. Thousands of tourists remain stranded on Lombok and the Gili Islands. This was the scene there, people scrambling onto boats after the area was declared unsafe. In Lombok, dozens of Aussies face a night sleeping on the airport floor, told flights out may not leave for 4 days. In the light of day, the destruction goes on and on. More than 50% of homes in northern Lombok have been destroyed. A long road ahead for a place that shares its beauty with danger.
A man is very lucky to be alive after his car was crushed by tons of timber near Kendal on the mid-north coast. The load slipped as the log truck rounded a bend early this morning. Somehow the 25-year-old behind the wheel of a car travelling in the opposite direction escaped serious injury.
An
An early morning wake-up call Lawn resident Clem Gardner didn't expect.
There was a big bang and a crash.
And after seeing this along a section of Lawn Road, Clem automatically thought the worst.
I thought, no way anybody's alive in that, because I asked the driver, is there anybody in it? He said yes.
Despite being trapped inside the mangled wreck, the timber crushing the vehicle, the 25-year-old driver from Kupanook was miraculously not only alive, but in a stable condition.
I said to him, I said, can you feel your toes and move your toes? He said, I can do all that. And I said, that's great. He said, it's just my back.
The car so badly crushed around him, Clem's next move was to free him from the barely recognisable hatchback.
I thought I'd race down and get the tractor, hooked onto the pillar and lifted it up, and then he climbed out.
The driver was brought here to Port Macquarie Base Hospital with minor back pain and lacerations to his face. He's expected to stay overnight for observation. While machinery was brought in to remove the load of timber, which forced the closure of the road for several hours. Jessica Nagel, NBN News.
They're drowning in dust and debt. Hundreds of farming families across New South Wales on the brink of financial and emotional collapse. Today, a tantalising taste of rain, patchy showers and a few muddy puddles that had kids kicking up their heels, while their mums and dads desperately hope for more.
It's a sound forgotten in the West. Rain, as little as it may be, at last arriving. It's put a smile on these faces, but even young minds know the hardships.
I think that we need to put some extra money into it for farmers.
Yeah.
And pray for rain.
It will take much, much more to change this. Feeding Allah in the central western plains, desolate as far as the eye can see.
The cost just keeps going up, and for us it's costing probably $5,000-6,000 a week, and you can't get going like that.
Beverly and Bob Hovland have no backup plan. This is their life, Canamble is their home. But the drought has taken a destructive hold. Quality breeding stock fast disappearing.
We don't want to be selling, but we're forced to sell because, you can't keep going on forever and getting further into debt. So you've got to quit at some time.
In the spring of 2016, quitting was far from their minds. The countryside, a stark contrast, sprawling paddocks of wheat providing enough hay to feed their stock. Now, it's down to final supplies. The Hogland family has 40 years of cattle breeding behind them. In the last 12 months, though, they've been forced to start selling off their stock to help cover the cost of feed. This mob behind me are the next headed for the sale yards. If there is to be any silver lining, it can be found at the sale yards. Near record cattle numbers and sheep prices, helping ease the pressure of a struggling market.
In previous droughts, you couldn't sell the stock. This time, it's altogether different. If they have to get rid of their stock, they can really get something for them.
And while today's rain is a mere drop on a dry and desperate land, it is enough to lift spirits, at least for now.
They're a pretty resilient lot, these farmers, and they'll come through this all right. They'll come through, but they might be wounded, but they won't be out.
Julie Snook, NBN News.
Meanwhile, 7 trailers filled with donated goods from Newcastle have arrived in Tamworth. A Georgetown man coordinating the effort to help farmers battling the drought.
Helping to take the load off, one crate at a time. It's only been 3 weeks since Michael Daly came up with Newey Farmers Aid, but he says the response has been overwhelming.
We asked for donations of non-perishables, and we got absolutely inundated. I created 28 collection stations, and those 28 collection stations in Newcastle were absolutely magnificent.
7 trailers were needed to cart the goods for the 3-hour trip. While 99% of New South Wales is being crippled by the worst drought in living memory, Tamworth and the New England hold a special place in Michael's heart. A regular visitor to Inverell as a child, he has never seen the landscape this bad.
It was unbelievable at Denman, Muswellbrook, all the way up here and further inland. No, I've never seen it. In the paddocks, there's no grass really, it's just straw.
Sean Troon is from Newcastle and loaned his trailers to the cause. He says the extremity of the situation seems to finally be reaching the city.
I've noticed it in the last week. I was just saying actually the morning when we were heading out to help, I heard it twice on the radio, and obviously if there's this much support, it obviously is getting through.
Olivia Portel, NBN News.
Few missing persons cases had prompted such a huge community response, quite like that of Hunter man Zach Buns. As part of Missing Persons Week, we're taking a look at Zach's disappearance and his family's determination to find him.
It's been almost 2 years since Zach Barnes disappeared, and in that time his family has endured unimaginable pain, anguish and heartache.
Last year it was more about how we're feeling, how we're coping, how do we just get through each day. It was very much living in a cloud, a fog.
But for Zach's mum, Karen Goodall, one thing has always been clear, and that's her determination to find her son.
Hard reality is hitting home. Zach's not here. Zach hasn't been sighted in this time. There's no bank activity.
Zach was last seen on the evening of Sunday the 13th of November 2016, getting out of a friend's car near the Houseman Drive and Trip Close intersection at Thornton. There's been searches of bushland by both police and Ms Goodall, along with a constant social media campaign. While the police investigation into Zach's disappearance is still very much ongoing, Zach's mum is also searching for answers, which she hopes may come through a coronial inquest. Helping her achieve that, her work colleagues who are helping raise $100,000 for legal fees.
We're prepared to do whatever we have to in order to get Karen the resources that she needs to get her the answers that anyone would want under those circumstances.
When I heard that was going to happen, I sat in the car for 10 minutes crying, pulled myself together. I can't believe that they would do this for me.
In the meantime, Zach's mum remains focused on one thing.
I need to find him, and I need to do everything in my power to do that.
Zach was last seen wearing a faded blue singlet, dark blue board shorts and work boots. One distinguishing feature, his tattoo of a VB beer logo on his right calf. Anyone who has information on Zach's disappearance is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.